forecast always change. Forecast always change. Okay, so that means uh, depending upon the situation, the forecasts are bound to change. And third is the future into the future is less reliable the forecast will be. Okay, so as we proceed further, the forecast which we have made yesterday, so that will be less reliable. So we have to have forecast of forecast. Okay, so that is the meaning of this word. Now, what is aggregate planning? The objective of the aggregate planning is to generate a long-term production plan which enables, which establishes a rough product mix, that how much type of the product we are going to make, and which anticipates the bottlenecks, that means what are the hurdles which are going to face in the production, and the consistent with the capacity and the workforce plan. So based upon the product mix and the bottlenecks, we and the capacity of our plant, we plan this workforce. Okay, so these all planning will fall under the category of the aggregate planning. Now, what are the aggregate production planning function? So there are for aggregate production planning, we have the three inputs. The first input is the current status. We have to see the current status. That means at what capacity, what are the production rates, what is the workforce size with us, and what are the inventory level. So this is the first input we must have. Second input is what is the long-term demand forecast and the customer order. Suppose today we have, say, n number of orders from the customer, but at the month end, we can have more number of orders. Okay, so based on that, can we handle those orders? So this is another input, important input. And the third input is the capacity constraints, because we cannot keep on increasing the capacity. So there is a constraint of the plant, there is a constraint of the machines, constraints of manpower. So we have the constraints of equipment, material, personal, overtime, extra shift, and subcontracted. So equipment, you understand, we cannot go on increasing the equipment in the factory. We have constraint on it. We have the constraint of the material because it takes time. So once you order it, it takes some time to receive that material. Third is the personal. So we cannot over the night increase the personal from our workforce of say 200 people to 300 people. So we cannot also give overtime all the time to meet out our rush orders. And we cannot put always the extra shifts, and we cannot give our orders to others to make it. So these are the three important inputs which are required in the aggregate production planning. So based on this, we plan our output. That is what will be the production rates, our workforce size, our inventory level, that how much we are going to produce and how much we are going to store, and how much we are going to subcontract to the other suppliers, and what are the back orders. Back orders means the orders which we are not able to complete, they are in hand, or we have to, the target date of those orders is not yet complete. And the last is the loss sale. Loss sale is sometimes we do not accept the order, or we lost order because of our poor performance. So all these things will be taken into account. Now, what is material requirement planning? So objective of the material requirement planning is to determine all the purchase and the production components which are needed to satisfy the aggregate and disaggregate plan. So as we have told in the last class, what are the aggregates? So this we have explained very well. So in this material requirement planning, there are two issues. One is the bill of material. So we have to make the details of the components. We have to determine what are the total components are there, what will be the quantity of the each component, and what are the lead times. Lead time means suppose we have to purchase the material. So suppose today we place the order for purchasing that material, then after how much time, after how much month it comes in our hand. So that is the lead time. So lead times, they are not in our control. Okay, this quantities and the total number of components that we can plan. Then other issue is the inventory management. So it must be coordinated with the inventory. So it is not like that all the time we can go on producing more and we can utilize it at the later date, because producing more and storing it for some time or storing for more time, it involves money. So it blocks our capital. So there has to be a balance between the production and the inventory management. Now another important aspect is sequencing and scheduling. So objective is to develop a plan in order to guide the release of work into the system and coordination with the needed resource. That means machines, staff, and the material. So that means how much material, how the material will push into the system, on which machine it will go first, on how much time it is going to spend. So that is scheduling. So sequencing means in what order the material will go, and scheduling in what time, up to what time it will stay at a particular workstation. So objective is to develop a plan in order to guide the release of the work into the system and a coordination with the needed resource. Now what are the methods? So we do the sequencing and scheduling. So sequencing is dealing with the giving order release but no time. So we will only decide, suppose there are 10 orders or different types, suppose J1 to J10. So which order will go on a particular machine first? So we decide the sequence, but we are not concerned with the time here. Okay. Second is the scheduling. We give the detailed release time. That means at what time this order will be given to a particular machine, and till what time it will stay with that machine, and at what time it will leave that machine. So this is scheduling. Okay. Now another important term is the capacity planning. So capacity planning, or the capacity requirement plannings also we call sometimes, is a function of establishing, measuring, and adjusting the limits or the levels of capacity. Okay, so we have to measure what is the capacity of our work tool, or whether we can increase it, and what are the level of capacity, how much maximum capacity it can give. Okay, so this is all capacity planning. If there are less, so we have to increase number of machine tools, we have to increase the number of manpower, so like that. Now there is a hierarchy of capacity planning decision. So this is shown with this diagram. So here you see we have a master production schedule. Okay, this is important. So we have, first we do the production planning, then we have a master production schedule, then we have the mass material requirement planning that we have just defined. So there is a demand. So based on the demand, we will do the production planning, and based on the demand, we will make our master production schedule. Okay. So now, based on this material requirement planning, we will, if we are not going to produce everything in house, so we will give this to some vendor who will does this job for us, and somewhat we will make at the shop. So we have the shop floor control, and this is our capacity planning decision. So you see, this is in the short range and this is in the long run. So we have our resource planning, we have our rough cut capacity planning, we have the capacity requirement planning, we have the finite loading, capacity simulation, and input output analysis. So if we go from here to here, it is long range, and here short range. Suppose we have to have the capacity requirement planning. So based on our material requirement planning, so they're mutually dependent on each other. Similarly, if we have to load the machine tool, so we have to load that it will be starting at particular day and it will be ending on a particular day. So we perform the finite loading. Then capacity simulation. So in order to see whether we will be able to run the line or run the plant, we have the simulation, and without doing the actual experiment, we can simulate the system and we can find the results. Okay, so this is how the capacity planning is perceived or done. So now what is the production plan? A production plan is a portion of the intermediate range business plan that the manufacturing operations department is responsible for developing. So that means a production manufacturing operation department will be making a production plan how to get the production done for the particular product. Now, why it is important to have a carefully developed production plan? So it is an important document. So any mistakes, which are not foreseen, so they can result in errors and the blunders. So firms need to have a production planning strategy to ensure that there is a sufficient capacity to meet the demand forecast and to determine the best plan to meet this demand. Okay. So now a careful production plan has to be developed very carefully. So these are the objectives with which the production plans are being developed. The first objective is to minimize the cost and maximize the profit. So how we can minimize the cost? When our production cycles are when our cycle times are less, and when our profits are more, when we are able to utilize the machine tools in a best possible manner with a smaller lead time, smaller cycle time, and good quality. Second is we can maximize the customer service. If we are able to attend the customer, their requirement, if there are complaints, any other complaints, then we are able to secure the future orders. Okay, so that depends upon if the production plans are made very clearly. Then third objective is to minimize the inventory investment, minimize the change in the production rate. Okay, so we have to minimize the inventory investment. Our inventory level should not be very high. Okay, so in order to do that, we have to minimize the change. Our production rates should not be, very often. It should not change very often. Now, other objective is minimize the change in the workforce level. So very rapidly we should not do this, and our production levels should be more or less constant. Okay. Then we have to maximize the utilization of the plant and the equipment. Okay. Now, what are the stages and the steps in the PPC? So these are the steps in PPCV. So routing, which is related to the production planning. So we will discuss in the next slide. Second is the sequencing, which is also related to the production planning. So this also we have discussed just now. Scheduling, that is related to the production control. It is not related to production planning. Then there is a dispatching, that means when exactly we start the production. So it is related to the production control. And then the follow-up, that is again related to the production control. So now what is routing or routing? Routing is the first step in the production planning and control. Routing can be defined as a process of deciding the path, that is the route of the work and the sequence of operation. So it is very important that routing can be defined as a process of deciding the path or the route of the work and sequence of the operation. In short, routing determines what, how much, with which, how, and where to produce. So what we have to produce, how much we have to produce, with which material we have to produce, with material or resource, how much, how we have to produce, what will be the production, and where to produce. Okay, so these are all the questions which are related for understanding routing and making a routing document. So what are the advantages of routing? Routing gives a very systematic method of converting the raw material into the finished good. So that is very important. Second is it leads to the smooth and the efficient work, because when our routes are properly defined, there will be no bottleneck and our production work will be very smooth. Third is it leads to optimal utilization of the resources, that is man, material, machines. Okay. Fourth is it leads to division of labor. So this means when we see that it goes from one machine to another machine, and so we are basically doing the division of labor. So we know which manpower is suitable for which machine. So it is not just like this, we have got 20 machinists with us, so we can put on the any machine. Okay. Then it ensures a continuous flow of the material without any backtracking. Backtracking is what? That suppose a job has started on machine 1 and it is going to a further machine. But again, for some other operation, it has to come back to that machine. So that should not happen. Okay, that is known as the backtracking. So backtracking, as far as possible, it should be avoided. Now, another advantage is it saves time and space, because if the layout is proper or machines are laid out very properly, so it will save time. It makes the work easy for production engineers and the foreman. Next is it has a great influence on the design of the factory building and install machine. So based on this, we can exactly decide our decision of purchasing the machine, enhancing the plant capacity, or increasing the number of people. So all these things are related with the proper routing. Now, what are the steps or the procedure of routing? Number one, the product analysis determining what to manufacture and purchase. So this is a foremost step. So first we have to decide what we want to make in the factory, and what we have to purchase, or otherwise we can purchase a assembly from the outside. Okay. Second step is the product analysis is done, again to determine the materials required for the production. So we have to decide what are the materials required for making that product. Number three, fix the manufacturing operations and their sequence. Okay. Next is decide the number of the units to be manufactured in each lot of production. Lot of production means every time we will make a pre-decided lot. It will be either say 100 units, 1000 units, 5000 units, or 50 units. So that lot will depend upon the quantity of the orders we have. Okay. Next step is to estimate the margin of the scrap in each lot of production. So this is very important, because if we are producing no scrap, that means every product which we are making, it is acceptable and it is of the good quality, so that there is no scrap. But there is rework, some operation goes wrong, some material defects, there can be number of problems. So that means we have to set the margin of the scrap. So it should not be 2 to 4% of the total production capacity. So if it is more, then our profits will be less, and we'll be wasting the resources, and we'll be decreasing our profit margin. Now we have to analyze the production cost. So once we decide what is the material, how much we are going to purchase, how much we are going to make, what are the manufacturing sequences. So now we have to determine what is the production cost. We prepare the production control forms for the effective routing. So we see, suppose we have made a production route and we decide what is the production cost. Then we evaluate those control form and we see whether we can have some other route and what will be the production cost in the alternative route. So now prepare a separate sheet for each order. So that means every time an order is received, a new route sheet is prepared for each product. Now, what are the techniques of routing? So they can be classified into the three category. First is the route card, second is the worksheet, and third is the route sheet. So it is only a detailing of the route card, worksheet, and the routing only. That means we make route card, we make worksheet, we make the route sheet. So let us see how they look like. So route card, this card always accompanies with the job throughout the operation. So suppose a job is started, it has to undergo on say 10 machines. So every time it will go from one machine to another machine, it will carry the job. So all the data will be entered in that particular card, that this work, this step has been done, and it has taken so much of time and so much of material. This indicates the material use during the manufacturing and their progress from one operation to another operation. And also, this gives the detail of the scrap and the good work produced, and it is also recorded. So it is a route card is a very important document, and it has to carry with the job on each and every machine or the workstation. Now, this is how a production route card looks like. So you see, we write here the customer specific requirement and the special purpose characteristics for that particular uh, item. So here we identify first the customer name, we assign a product ID, and we also give that product name. Then how much quantity is to be made, and when the job has started. Okay, so here we list down all the processes which this job will undergo. Then this is the start date of that process, and this is the end date. Okay, so how much production unit and how much rejected unit. Okay, so what is the reason for the rejection and what is the accepted unit, and this reason is recorded here. Suppose it goes to now the process number 2. So when it has started, when it has ended, how much units, how much rejected, what was the reason, so reason for rejected, and accepted so much. Okay, so like that we complete the this route card for each and every product. You see, each unique ID is given to this route, and how much quantity is to produce. So this is a, this gives a complete brief history of the each and every job you are going to produce. So I think this route card is clear to you. आगे चलें.
Yes, sir.
Now, second is the worksheet. So worksheet contains the specification which are to be followed while manufacturing. Okay. So what will be the processes? So how this work has to be established. So that's why its name is given as worksheet. Okay. So instructions regarding the routing of every part with the identification number of the machines. So in the earlier here you see the product ID is given for the product, But here, ID is given for the machines. So that means the worksheet will be there for each product, and on which machines it will go, we have to identify. This sheet is made for manufacturing as well as for the maintenance. Suppose some machine goes wrong, so it has to be set right in a predetermined time or in the lowest minimum possible time. So a route sheet or a worksheet will be made for the maintenance work also. That is just like taken as a production work only. Now the route sheet, it is also called the route card. It lists the manufacturing operations in the decided sequence along with the machines associated with each operation. It also indicates the department in which the operation is to be done and the part will go for the next operation. It also consists uh, of the information such as the part name, part number, and the product number, and it gives the information about the material specification and the cutting tool, jigs, fixture, which are required for making each operation on that particular machine. So now this is how a route sheet will look like. So this is a route sheet. You see, it is part number is given, part name, part number, quantity, what material, what is the hardness of that material, due date, and part drawing. So operation number, so description of operation. Suppose a part has to undergo 3 operations, so we'll say OP1, OP2, OP3. So operation description. Suppose it is first is filing, second is drilling, third is tapping. On which machine it will go? On the workbench. Filing, drilling will go on drilling machine, and the other one will also go. Which department? In machine shop. What are the tools required? What is the time? Setup time required, operation time, total time. So like that, you make the worksheet. So I think this is clear to you. So with this, I end my today's lecture. We will be continuing this lecture in much detail in tomorrow next 2 classes. So don't miss those class, and we will continue. So before that, before I summarize my, complete my lecture here, just a minute, we will